but you cannot stand alone. Your patch is not big enough. Workers, you fight for fair wages, you're right, but your patch labor is not big enough. Women, you seek comparable worth and pay equity, you're right, but your patch is not big enough. Women, mothers who seek Head Start and daycare and prenatal care on the front side of life, rather than jail care and welfare on the back side of life, you're right, but your patch is not big enough. Students, you seek scholarships, you're right, but your patch is not big enough. Blacks and Hispanics, when we fight for civil rights, we are right, but our patch is not big enough. Gays and lesbians, when you fight against discrimination and a cure for AIDS, you are right, but your patch is not big enough. Conservatives and progressives, when you fight for what you believe, right wing, left wing, hawk, dove, you are right from your point of view, but your point of view is not enough. But don't despair. Be as wise as my grandmama. Pull the patches and the pieces together, bound by a common thread. When we form a great quilt of unity and common ground, we'll have the power to bring about health care and housing and jobs and education and hope to our nation. We the people can win. We stand at the end of a long, dark night of reaction. We stand tonight united in the commitment to a new direction. For almost 8 years, we've been led by those who view social good coming from private interests, who viewed public life as a means to increase private wealth. They have been prepared to sacrifice the common good of the many to satisfy the private interests and the wealth of a few. We believe in a government that's a tool of our democracy in service to the public, not an instrument of the aristocracy in search of private wealth. We believe in government with the consent of the governed, all for and by the people. We must now emerge into a new day with a new direction. Reaganomics, based on the belief that the rich had too much money, too little money, and the poor had too much. That's classic Reaganomics. It believed that the poor had too much money and the rich had too little money. So they engaged in reverse Robin Hood, took from the poor, gave to the rich, paid for by the middle class. We cannot stand 4 more years of Reaganomics in any version, in any disguise. How do I document that case? 7 years later, the richest 1% of our society pays 20% less in taxes. The poorest 10% pay 20% more. Reaganomics. Reagan gave the rich and the powerful a multi-billion-dollar party. Now the party is over. He expects the people to pay for the damage. I take this principled position, convention. Let us not raise taxes on the poor and the middle class, but those who had the party, the rich and the powerful, must pay for the party. I just want to take common sense to high places. We're spending $150 billion a year defending Europe and Japan 43 years after the war is over. We have more troops in Europe tonight than we had 7 years ago. Yet the threat of war is ever more remote. Germany and Japan are now creditor nations. That means they got a surplus. We are a debtor nation, means we are in debt. Let them share more of the burden of their own defense. Use some of that money to build decent housing. Use some of that money to educate our children. Use some of that money for long-term health care. Use some of that money to wipe out these slums and put America back to work. I just want to take common sense to high places. If we can bail out Europe and Japan, if we can bail out Continental Bank and Chrysler and Mr. Iacocca make $8,000 an hour, we can bail out the family farmer. I just want to make common sense. It does not make sense to close down 650,000 family farms in this country while importing food from abroad subsidized by the U.S. government. Let's make sense. It does not make sense to be escorting oil tankers up and down the Persian Gulf, paying $2.50 for every $1 worth of oil we bring out, while oil wells are capped in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. I just want to make sense.